Once in a while, there is a game that doesn't just stay with you, it lingers. And I think that's why, even today, people still come back to this old game from 2011. Not millions, not even thousands, just enough. A couple servers, a handful of communities, people who refuse to let it die. And I think it's because this game understands something most modern shooters don't. War is not about feeling powerful, it's about feeling exposed and powerless. Red Orchestra 2, Heroes of Stalingrad, captures something most games avoid. Crossing a street feels like a big decision. You stop at windows, you hesitate at doorways, a machine gun opens up somewhere in the distance, and suddenly the entire map changes. That street is gone, that building is gone, that direction becomes death, and the machine guns in this game feel horrifying, because they were meant to be. The MG42 wasn't called Hitler's buzzsaw for nothing. It was a weapon designed for suppression through sheer volume of fire. A single position could shut down movement across an entire area. And in Vasily Zaitsev's accounts from the Battle of Stalingrad, soldiers often described the German machine guns as something you never fully located until it was already firing at you. One burst from a window, then another street, then another building. You never felt safe from where it might appear next. And the game captures a fragment of that uncertainty, enough that you start changing how you play. You slow down, you think before moving, you start valuing survival more than anything else. And I think that's part of why people still play it, because unlike most shooters, it doesn't treat war like a playground. One of the things that makes Red Orchestra 2 Heroes of Stalingrad so immersive is the voices. The soldiers actually speak in their native languages. It's raw, unfiltered. Russian and German orders shouted through gunfire. Warnings you don't fully understand unless you recognize the language. Even simple callouts sound urgent, panicked, human, and even if you don't understand every word, you understand the tone, the fear in the soldier translates. Stories from that time often come down to something much smaller than history books suggest. People weren't always shaped by ideology or conviction. More often, they were carried by circumstance, drawn into systems that didn't leave much room for choice. For example, in my own family's history, survival wasn't defined by strategy or politics. My grandmother once traveled to see my grandfather after he had been recruited into the Wehrmacht as manpower was running low. She later told a story of how she managed to secure his release by bribing an officer with a baked duck, because the farm back home needed him. A duck. It sounds almost absurd now, almost too small to belong inside something as large as war. But that's exactly the point. Most of history doesn't feel like grand strategy from the outside looking in. It feels like improvised survival. People trying to keep farms running, trying to keep families intact, trying to prevent everything from falling apart one decision at a time. And later, when the Soviets advanced, the cattle were taken away anyway, under the guise of collectivization. That's the part war games rarely show. Not the battles, but the civilians living underneath them. caught between forces they never even chose. Sometimes I wonder what veterans would think of games like this. Some would hate it, some would avoid it completely, and I understand that. But I think some would recognize something in it. A computer game cannot be perfect, of course, but it captures something emotionally true. The fear of open ground, the randomness of death, the pressure of suppression, the feeling that one machine gun can control everything in front of it. That feeling is real. And most modern games are afraid of letting players feel it, and this one isn't. But it's important to say that even this game has limits. It can show bullets, it can show fear, it can show chaos in seconds, but it cannot show what comes before. The starvation, the exhaustion, the cold that doesn't end, the long stretches of nothing but waiting and surviving, the slow breakdown of people trapped in places like Stalingrad. No game can carry all of that, and maybe it shouldn't. Some parts of history are too heavy to simulate. And that's what makes games like Red Orchestra 2, Heroes of Stalingrad, worth remembering. Not because they are accurate, but because they remind you that war is not a spectacle. It's pressure and fear. It's survival under conditions that break people. We keep telling ourselves that this must never happen again. Every year we mark the end of wars with remembrance, as if naming the lesson is enough to ensure it is learned. And yet, in different forms, in different places, the same patterns return. I'm not saying they are identical, only that they are recognizable when they return. And perhaps that is what stays unresolved. We notice it, we understand it, we can even name it, and it still begins again. Like a loop, like a spiral that returns to familiar points, even as everything around it changes.
И поэтому знаю, со мной ничего не случится.